Good morning, dear students. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Today we will see if we have any difficulty transforming an affirmative sentence into a negative one. Let us first see rule 1. I think we have no problem with this rule, haven't we? Do you have any problem with this rule? Go through the rule and tell me. Talal, tell me if we have any problem with this rule.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, rule 2. As far as rule 2 is concerned, we need to know something that is very important for our exam. Let us see what we need to know. Let us see what we need to know. We make an affirmative sentence with must negative by using cannot but or cannot help in place of must. When we use cannot help, we use gerund or verb plus ing after help. But this question may be made tricky by replacing must with must may be replaced with must may be replaced with be to or have to or have got to or have got to or be bound to or be obliged to we have to remember that if we have a sentence in which be to means am to, is to, are to, was to, were to, or have to meaning have to, has to, had to, or have got to, meaning have got to, has got to, had got to. Or be bound to, meaning am, is, are, was, were bound to. Or be obliged to, meaning am, is, are, was, were obliged to. If we find these similar phrases in place of must in a sentence, we have to follow the same rule. That means we have to use cannot but or cannot help in place of these phrases. Like this. Like this. I must go. I must go. This sentence may be or can be written like this. I am to go. I am to go. Or I am to go, or be punctual on attending classes. Or I is followed by have. I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. Or we can also write I have got to go. 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 Similarly, we can write I am bound. I am bound to go. Now we can write our last one. I am obliged. I am obliged to go. These are all sentences with the similar meaning. These are all sentences with the similar meaning. In our question paper, we may be given am to, have got to, am bound to, or am obliged to in place of must. In that case also, we have to transform it from affirmative to negative by using cannot but or cannot help. So the negative sentence for all these affirmative sentences is similar. That is, I cannot but go, or I cannot help. Help is followed by a gerund. We have to use verb plus ing here. I cannot help going. Clear? Any do you find it any more difficult? Have you understood it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move to another thing. When must is used with death, verb form is die and noun form is death. When must is used with die or death, we have to remember that we cannot use usually. We usually cannot use cannot help or cannot but. We need to use cannot escape or cannot avoid. If the subject is like this affirmative, we is an affirmative subject, we need to use cannot escape or cannot avoid. And if the sentence, if the subject is a negative, we need to use can escape or can avoid. Can escape or can avoid. Like this, we must die. We should not write we cannot but die or we cannot help dying. We should write we cannot escape death or we cannot avoid death. All men must die. The negative form of all is no. No man. Here man is plural. We have to use here the singular form of men, which is man. No man can avoid death or no man can escape death. In case of fate or luck or fortune, bhagyo, niyati. In case of fate, F-A-T-E, or luck or fortune, we need to remember that we have to replace must submit to with cannot escape or cannot avoid. Must submit to need to be replaced with cannot escape or cannot avoid. Must submit to and must yield to are similar in terms of meaning. অর্থের দিক থেকে দুটো একই. We need to do the same thing. We need to replace must yield to with can avoid if the subject is in the negative or can escape. Like this, every man must yield to his destiny. No man can avoid his destiny. So we must be careful when using the must in case of uh, death and destiny or fate. We have a rule that is different from the usual or common rule. Now you uh, do the exercises given here. You have been given 5 minutes. No, 3 minutes to complete these exercises. Do it as quickly as possible. Let me ask you, Firdaus, tell me, we must be attentive to our studies.
We cannot but be attentive to our studies.
Now use cannot help. Now tell me the answer using cannot help.
We cannot help being attentive to our studies.
Good. Then after Firdaus, Snehangshu, tell me everybody must die. Snehangshu.
No one can escape death.
Snehangshu, the opposite of everybody is nobody. The
Sorry, sir,
opposite of
nobody.
everyone is no one or none. So nobody can escape death or nobody can avoid death. You can use can escape or can avoid. Good. Now, after Snangshu, Joy, Joyram. Everyone must yield to his destiny. Everyone must, Joyram. Everyone must yield to his destiny. Respond quickly. Joyram Pal. Ahnaf.
Ji, sir.
Oh, Joyram has come. Tell me, everyone must yield to his destiny. Make it negative. Like this.
Sir, no one can avoid his
No
destiny.
one can avoid or no one can escape his destiny. No one can avoid or no one can escape his destiny. Good. Now, Ahnaf, we cannot help listening to him. Make it affirmative.
So question again, sir.
Can't you see D? We cannot help listening to him. Can't you see the screen? We cannot help listening to him. Can you see the screen?
No, sir. Sir, I have some problem, sir.
Okay, we cannot help listening to him. Make it affirmative. We cannot help listening to him. Okay, Ahnaf has a problem with seeing the screen. Let me ask Rafi, Musaddiqul Islam Rafi. We cannot help listening to him. Rafi, respond quickly. We have many more to do.
Yes, sir.
We cannot help listening to him. Make it affirmative. Make it affirmative.
Sir. So we must listen to him.
We must listen to him. Now tell me, can you make it affirmative using be obliged to? Can you make it affirmative?
Using be obliged to.
Be obliged to. Using be obliged to. We
Sir.
we
Sir, we can.
now we are. We will not use must. We
So
will
we are
be
obliged to listen to him.
good. We are obliged to listen to him. To listen to him.
Yes, sir.
Can you use be bound to?
Yes, sir.
Be bound to in place of must.
Sir, we are bound to listen to him.
Good. We are bound to listen to him. Thank you. Now we can move on to our next segment. 3 and 4, we have here a rule that may not be difficult for you. Do you think this rule is difficult? Both dot 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 and is replaced with not only dot 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 but also when an affirmative sentence is transformed into a negative one. But we need to know one thing. In this case, let us know. We need to be acquainted with three correlative conjunctions. Number one, not only dot 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 but also. Number two, neither dot 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 nor. Number three, either dot 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 or. What you need to know about these three correlative conjunctions is that when two subjects are connected by one of these correlative conjunctions, the verb is placed following the nearest subject. The verb is placed following the nearest subject. Let us look at a sentence. Not only you, but also, not only you, but also I am, is, are. Am, is, are. Responsible. Am, is, are responsible. Not only you, but also I, in bracket, am, oblique, is, oblique, are responsible. We have to use the verb here following the nearest subject. Nearest subject, the distance will be measured from verb. Here we have two subjects. First one is you and second one is I. Which one is nearer to am, is, are? You or I? Which one is nearer to am,
Sir, I.
is, are? I. Okay, I is the nearest subject. So we are going to use am. So we are going to use am. We are going to use am. Clear? Why am I not saying that the verb will follow the second subject? Why am I not saying that the verb will follow the second subject? Can you tell me, anyone? Because in the assertive sentence, in the assertive sentence, the second subject is nearer. But if we make it interrogative, If we make it interrogative, uh, which subject is then nearer, you or I? If we write this sentence in the interrogative form, which subject is nearer, you or I? These are our verbs.
You.
You. You, then uh, what will be our verb?
So are.
Are. Good. Then we can see that our verb is are, not am. Our verb is are, not am. This is why I am saying that in cases of not only but also neither nor either or, we have to put the verb according to the nearest subject. I am not saying that according to the second subject, because in the assertive sentence, the second subject is the nearest, and in the interrogative sentence, the first subject is the nearest. Clear? Now, we can write this sentence with a different meaning with neither nor or either or. The rule will be the same. Neither you nor I. Now, either you or I. Now, can you understand the rule? Is the rule clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then we have as soon as. If we have an affirmative sentence starting with as soon as, we make it negative using no sooner ... than. You have to remember that this question may be said like this. You may be asked to make a sentence starting with as soon as comparative. This is a sentence in the positive degree. This is a sentence in the positive degree also, and this is a sentence in the comparative degree also. This sentence can be made from affirmative to negative, or from positive to comparative. The sentences are the same, but the language for the question may be different. You may be asked to transform from affirmative to negative, or from positive to comparative. Now here we need to learn one thing. Let us see what we need to learn. That is, let me write a sentence first. As soon as he saw me, he ran away. This is the core structure of a positive form, a positive structure, and that's not my problem. I want to know from you why we use the auxiliary verb had before subject in the no sooner structure. Can you tell me why we use after no sooner had and then subject? Why not subject plus had? Can you tell me? Any of you? Can you tell me, any of you, why we use this? No sooner had he.
Sir, what is the question?
Why we use no sooner had he seen? Why we don't use? Why we use this structure? Why don't we use? Why
Sir, because
don't
sir এখানে head
we
আছে স্যার
use?
no শোনার পরে।
Why don't we use no sooner he had seen? Why we don't use no sooner he had seen? Why we use no sooner had he seen? I want to know. Why it is correct, why it is correct, and why it is wrong. Why it is correct and why it is wrong. This is my question to you. Why it is correct? Why this is correct? This structure is correct and this structure is wrong. Tell me. Then listen to me. If we start an assertive sentence, if we start an assertive sentence with a negative adverb, or a negative adverb phrase. If we start an assertive sentence with a negative adverb or negative adverb phrase, or so, here so does not mean hence therefore, অর্থাৎ অতএব তাই সুতরাং এই অর্থে নয়. Here so means এরূপ. Here so means এরূপ or এমনটা. Here so means এরূপ or এমনটা. Here so means এরূপ or এমনটা. If we start an assertive sentence with a negative adverb or negative adverb phrase, or so meaning এরূপ or এমনটা, we place the auxiliary verb before the subject. The auxiliary verb precedes the subject. The auxiliary verb is placed before the subject, meaning the auxiliary verb preceding its subject. Let me write a sentence. He never tells a lie. He never tells a lie. Here we can see a negative adverb never. Here we can see a negative adverb never. Now we are asked to, suppose we are asked to rewrite the sentence, but rewrite the sentence using never at the beginning. Let us write never at the beginning. Never. We will not write an imperative sentence. We will write an assertive sentence. Never. Good. Now, I have to place the auxiliary verb, not the subject. The sentence is in the present indefinite and in the active structure. Then our auxiliary verb is do or does, aren't they? Our auxiliary verbs are do and does, aren't they? We use does with he. So now we will write the auxiliary verb does. Now the subject he. Now the main verb tell. As we have used does, we cannot use s with tell, can we? We cannot. Never does he tell a lie. This is an assertive sentence. This is not an interrogative sentence. Let us see an adverb phrase. Women are no longer confined. Women are no longer confined within the four walls of their houses. Can you see a negative adverb phrase here? Here the negative adverb phrase is no longer. If you are asked to rewrite the sentence starting with no longer, no longer. Now here we already have an auxiliary verb are. We need not borrow any. We have to put first are and then the subject. No longer are women, and then the rest of the sentence. No longer are women confined within the four walls of their house. Let us see a sentence with so. He can say so. Do you think here so means অতএব তাই সুতরাং? No. Here so means এরূপ অথবা এমনটা. You may be asked to write the sentence starting with so. We have placed so at the beginning. Now comes the auxiliary verb can. Can will be followed by the subject he and then the rest of the sentence. So can he say. This is the reason why had is placed before he. That means auxiliary had is placed before the subject he. Because once again, no sooner is a negative adverb phrase. If you write the sentence like this, we have no more time. Okay. If we write the sentence like this, he had no sooner seen me. then we need not place the auxiliary before the subject, because this sentence does not start with the no sooner negative adverb phrase. I have many more. I have something more to tell you. I will continue in my next class because our time is over. Well over now. Let's end the class today. I hope you will join our next class. Thank you for attending the class.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank.
Adab, sir.
Can you understand? Have you understood what we have learned today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Let me end the class now. I have another class in my schedule. Thank you.